Hello guys and welcome back. We are here for another standard deck tech as we explore more of the results published at the MTG Top 8 website. And one of the interesting archetype I've found is a build of the Grixis. What do you call this one as a Grixis Aggro, or more like a Grixis Tempo deck from the MTG Online Preliminaries event. And one of the recently posted online events from that said website has also some of the top tier decks such as the blue-white control, the domain tempo or the domain control as we say, and the relevant decks also. But we're exploring today a list. As you can see here, it initially goes with the legends, as you're familiar with the 4-color, the 5-color legends deck, but this relies more on just the Grixis colors. So we're going to discuss the breakdown. So we have 17 creatures, 6 enchantments, 12 instants, 25 lands in the main deck, and of course the 15 card sideboard. And surprisingly, no copy of sorcery speed, rather more of the discard spells here. And starting off with the 2-drops, the creatures with the legends are 3 copies of Lazav Wearer Faces. So what this card does is that whenever it attacks, you can exile card from a graveyard and then investigate. So investigating is creating a clue, and then whenever you sacrifice a clue, you may have Lazav become a copy of a creature card, exile with it until the end of turn. So in a way, it can also control creatures from opponent's graveyard or even from your own graveyard and have it become a copy as long as you have sacrificed a clue on that time, and that is until end of turn. So additional also with this deck is that having this one more so doing some relevant combat tricks or any other attack triggers, or you can copy a relevant card more so that you would need depending on the situation or the board presence of your opponent. And thus it's also supported by a 2-drop with Magna the Horde Master. So this is the buy a box version. So Magna here does that whenever you commit a crime, you will create a top treasure token and only one trigger its turn. But the good thing is that later on you can get to sacrifice 3 tokens if ever you have those copies, and then you can create this 4/4 red Scorpion Dragon creature token with flying haste. The only drawback is that you would only need to activate it as a sorcery. But nevertheless, the extra creature that you can produce out of this evidence of creating a crime with these treasure tokens will also get you a good board advantage. More so if you're not going with this route, then having also a treasure token would get you to fix and maybe ramp up to your bigger spells and creatures in this deck. Now for the 3-drop, or probably the 4 copies of this in the deck, is your Marchesa, Dealer of Death, also from Outlaws of Thunder Junction set. In accessibility, it's a 3/4. Whenever you commit a crime, may pay 1 and then look at the top 2 cards library, putting them in your hand and the other in your graveyard. In a way also, it can fill up your graveyard, at the same time get you the needed answers if needed, and maybe filter out some of the extra lands that you may have drawn from the top 2 cards of your library. And also, a support here is the Shenstein Binder, more so that you can also counter target activated or triggered ability, and then it may be also to turn off creatures or planeswalkers or artifact if those abilities are countered, as long as of course the Tidebinder is still remaining in the battlefield. And your 4/4 here are very relevant creatures of the Grixis colors. So we have Airtide Resurrected, it's more of a counter spell also and a creature removal effect. And of course Sheldred, that's 2 copies, can punish creatures or decks with extra card draws, and of course gets you to gain 2 life for each card you've drawn this turn, or at any time you will draw a card. Now for the 5-drop category is the 2 copies of Giza the Hellraiser, also a mythic from OTJ. So she has this ability as a 4/4 with ward and pay 2 life. That's ward 2 mana and pay 2 life. You get also that your skeletons and zombies would have +1/+1 and menace. But the good thing is that whenever you commit a crime, you will have to create 2 tap 2/2 black and blue zombie rogue creature tokens and only 1 trigger its turn. But nevertheless, you still get this one with a good support of this other card as we follow up. So those cards that can help these triggers, particularly committing a crime, are your copies of Tiny Bones joins up. So this is a 1 mana legendary enchantment. It has this ability that when it enters a battlefield, any number of target players get this to discard a card, and then whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, any number of target players each mill a card and lose 1 life. So in any sense, with Tiny Bones in the battlefield under your control, whenever your legendary creatures enter the battlefield with this ability that commits a crime, you will get to this trigger and also satisfy their condition to committing a crime. So example of this, if the Tiny Bones is in play with Gisa, the Eraser casting and entering the battlefield, you get also this trigger to create this 2/2 blue and black zombie rogue creature token. So basically, this is a very powerful component of this deck to get you a good all card advantage and board advantage at the same time. And also we have Rakdos joins up. This is a 5 mana enchantment that's only 2 copies in the deck. Its ability also that you can return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then adding 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it. And then the bonus is that whenever a legendary creature you control dies, it will be able to deal damage equal to that power to target opponents. In the same time, you can get you some huge damage depending on these versions of your legendary creatures that will die at the same time, get you the needed, for example, damage to your opponent's life total. And of course, the instance here composed of several spot removals. We have 3 copies of Cut Down, 2 copies of Bitter Triumph, 3 copies of Go for the Throat, 3 copies of Make Disappear, because a good counter spell would be also essential to counter any shenanigans from your opponent, and a copy of Siphon Insight that can also be able to use your opponent's cards by looking at the top 2 cards of your opponent's library and then exiling one of them face down, and you can also get this one to flashback. And for the land, we have several mana fix. Of course, Grixis scholars would really need a lot of fixing, of course, with these check lands, and Blacklead Cliffs in your Dark Shores are basically the good way to start your turn with this good fix of mana. And also, in addition, are your Underground River to do for the blue-black fix, and of course, casting those legendary creatures would need also to have 4 copies of Plaza of Heroes. At the same time, it can be used to protect your legendary creature with Hexproof and Indestructible if needed. And the rest also would go with utility cards, with Takenuma, of course, that's only cheaper to channel because of the legendary creatures. And of course, Otawara, the Soaring City, will also help with any bounce effects if needed. Now for the quick rundown of the sideboard. So for control matchups, you would need this one. We have Duress and Negate. Let's view as grid. So your first sideboards, we have a lot of good effects to go against them. For example, we have Duress against Midrange and control. Negate also to counter their Leyland's Binding, their Deadly Cover-Up, or any other effects, or even their Herd Migration. You can then use Tidebinder to turn off their Atraxa by countering its ATB effects. And also, Liana of Veil can also be used against mid-range to control decks that can have your players discard a card or discard their card as a way for them to control you, and also make them sacrifice their best creature with this -2 ability. Also, is another support here would be Lord Skeeter. It goes with the Temur's version of having land cards in their graveyard, so you would need additional way to exile their graveyard at the same time, create an army of your own by creating this 1/1 black rat creature token, which they can also block, but at the same time get you a huge army later on to attack. But the good thing is, the important thing here is that you would need to exile up to 1 target card from your opponent's graveyard and have them exile those lands, so they won't really have a way for their analysts to return those lands and gain board advantage. Also, in the support of that, of course, are your unlicensors, which can exile up to 2 cards from your single graveyard and then can be used to crew later on for an additional attack if needed to your deck. For the other matchups, such as the blue-white, or the red Boros Convoke decks, you have your Glistening Deluge to make a sweep out of them, as green and white creatures will get an additional -2/-2 instead of just -1/-1. So basically, they get to -3/-3 until end of turn, and then therefore killing them off with this 3 mana board wipe. And of course, added also is a long goodbye for the Esper decks. You can kill off, of course, Esperafin with the reward protecting them can be bypassed because this spell can be countered. At the same time, you can pick off other relevant creatures such as Graveyard Trespasser, which also has ward effects, and even Kaito Tsuzuki, since that Planeswalker is 3 mana cost, then Long Will Buy would be really the best answer against them. But overall, I think this current lineup of their sideboard is very much aligned to what the current standard format metagame is going into. And last but not the least, your mana curve is 2.54, core distribution is mostly black with a little of blue and red, but at the same time, the producers here would really help in a way that you can curve out early on without any issue of your mana problems. And deck tokens are here. We have Blue token, Rat token from Lord Skeeter, Scorpion Dragon from Magda, Treasure token, and last but not the least are your Rogue token produced by Gisa. The Gisa, the what's it call her? The Hellraiser. So I guess that's pretty much it, guys, for this short deck tech discussion of your Grixis Aggro. If you have played against this in your MTG online grinding or even on MTG Arena, just let me know in the comments. We can have a good discussion as to how this deck would function. What are your observations as compared to that of the usual 4-color or 5-color Legends deck? Let me know in the comments so we can have some analysis and maybe deck comparison of these two versions of your Legends deck against the Grixis Aggro deck feature that we have today. So I guess that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, notifications on, guys, and see you on the next video.